The Jedi Temple was home to countless species from all corners of the galaxy and of various backgrounds, ranging from those born in nobility to those orphaned in war. Regardless of their origin, once brought into the Jedi Order, all initiates were treated as equals and raised in an environment which reinforced this principle. About a decade before the Phantom Menace, Yoda requested Dooku to help him teach a class of younglings. Although this was presented as a benefit for the students, the Grand Master also believed it was necessary for his former apprentice to reconnect with the Jedi Order. By this point, Dooku had started to distance himself from the Order and had become more involved in Republic politics, hoping that the Galactic Senate would be more receptive to his views than the Jedi Council. Despite not agreeing with all his criticisms, Yoda believed that if Dooku wanted to change the Jedi Order's approach and relationship with the galaxy for the better, then he should help shape it directly by instructing the new generation of Jedi, rather than doing so from the outside. Nevertheless, the Jedi Initiate clan the two masters came to instruct included a Wookiee and Trandoshan, named Kursish and Gear, who were close friends. A rare sight as their species beyond the temple walls maintained a deep hatred for one another in the galaxy. This unique friendship soon began to fracture, however, once Kursish eventually learned the history of the Trandoshans, terrorizing and enslaving Wookiees, even at times simply hunting them for sport or tradition. Following this revelation, Kursish experienced a Force vision which initially showed Yoda among a group of Wookiees, with the youngling likely assuming it to be the tribe that he was taken from as an infant. The tone of the vision then immediately shifts, revealing the same tribe being attacked by a hunting party of Trandoshans and later witnessing their cruel treatment of his people who were captured afterwards. His anger rose as these traumatic scenes continued around him, with the final and most devastating moment of the vision showing Gear about to strike him down with her lightsaber. Both frightened and confused by the vision, Kursish searched for possible answers within the temple's library. Recognizing the Wookiee from the class he had taught earlier, and sensing his unease, Dooku offered to help him. After learning Kursish had experienced his first Force vision, Dooku told the youngling to keep it a secret and not even to tell Yoda, having witnessed firsthand, years earlier, how the Jedi Order simply dismissed the visions of his friend Sifo-Dyas and their disapproval of him when he continued to be guided by them. This was due to the widely accepted belief within the Order that Force visions only revealed possibilities of the future and were often the result of one's inner conflicted emotions being reflected back onto themselves. Therefore, those who acted on them tended to do so out of fear and made their decisions not based on the realities of the present, but on their beliefs of the future to come. This was one of the many interpretations Dooku strongly disagreed on with the Council, believing instead that while these visions may not show the future exactly as it will transpire, they still should be taken seriously and treated as the Force attempting to communicate where the Jedi's presence was most needed. Listening to Dooku's advice and not revealing his visions to anyone else, Kursish remained distraught at what he had witnessed and became antagonistic towards his friend Gear, shoving and insulting her during their next lightsaber practice session. Seeing Kursish bullying one of his peers while he was teaching, Yoda told the Wookiee to see him after class, sensing both anger and fear within the youngling as well. When confronted over his behavior and unbalanced emotions, Kursish told the Grand Master it was because he felt threatened by another student, not revealing his Force vision, but admitting the student in question was Gear. Kursish was reminded by Yoda that although he was not required to be friends with all Jedi, he still had to respect them and their connection to the Force. Still unsure over the cause of this sudden hostility from the Wookiee, Yoda was able to sense that it had something to do with Gear being a Trandoshan, telling Kursish that whatever conflict existed between their respective species in the galaxy, it had no place within the Jedi Temple. Before leaving, Yoda revealed that Gear herself was found by a group of Wookiees, and that they were the very reason she was brought to the Jedi Order, reaffirming the lesson that the Force influences and connects all life together regardless of who they are. Feeling ashamed over his actions, Kursish hoped to make amends with Gear the next day. However, while sleeping that night, he had another vision of him apologizing to Gear, only to be attacked by her immediately afterwards, waking up screaming and once more filled with fear over what the Force was trying to tell him. Informing Dooku the next day of having this vision again and telling him exactly what he saw in it this time, the Jedi Master told Kursish that the Force seemed to be warning him of potential danger, but he should not act on it unless provoked. Instead, Dooku advised the youngling to remain patient and to observe Gear for any potential signs of darkness within her. to continue training his skills in preparation of the vision possibly coming true, and to remain open-minded to future visions that he may experience that could provide more clarity on what he had seen. Following Dooku's advice, Cursish stopped being openly hostile towards Gear, but remained on guard for the next several months, believing any moment his vision could become reality. Eventually, Yoda led an off-world survival training exercise for the Jedi Initiate clan that Cursish and Gear were a part of. When they arrived on the planet, the Grand Master disappeared into the wilderness to test the youngling's survival skills without relying on his assistance. When Cursish realized Yoda was far out in the forests and wouldn't be directly observing them, he experienced a brief flash of Gear attacking him once more. Understanding Yoda wouldn't be able to come save him now, if his vision were to come true during this survival exercise, Cursish decided to make the first move. Hoping to isolate Gear, he asked if they could have a private chat. As the two younglings walked away from their camp, Cursish told her about experiencing a vision that showed that he was in danger. When Gear asked what kind of danger, Cursish answered with his fists, striking the Trandoshans several times up against a tree until she dodged one of his punches and flipped him over. Rebalancing himself, Cursish ignited his lightsaber and immediately charged at Gear, putting her at his mercy before she could properly react. Right as he was about to strike her dead, her other friend from the clan came to the rescue and tackled the Wookiee. Cursish didn't stay down long, slicing into the Togorian's arm and knocking him out with a punch to the head. The brief intervention allowed for Gear to get up and ignite her own lightsaber. Fully committed to finishing what he started, Cursish did not hesitate with his fury of attacks, with the two younglings engaging in an intense duel throughout the forest. Using his blind rage to her advantage by having the Wookiee tire himself out with her remaining on the defensive, Gear was able to eventually unbalance her opponent and force push him against a tree, leaving him completely vulnerable to her. Despite everything that had happened, Gear still refused to kill Cursish, instead striking his lightsaber hilt before deactivating her own, hoping this act of mercy would shatter whatever monster had taken over her former friend and that they could finally talk things out. The moment she deactivated her lightsaber, however, Cursish tackled her and grabbed her neck with his bare hands before Yoda finally intervened. Asking what they were doing, Cursish shouted that he sensed Gear had fallen to the dark side, who of course denied the accusation. Sitting down calmly, Yoda asked Cursish if he could sense the dark side in himself. The Wookiee replied he sensed no darkness within the Grand Master, but that was the wrong answer. The dark side is always present, a part of the Force it is, and so it is a part of everyone, even Yoda himself. When asked what made him so certain of Gear's fall to the dark side, Cursish told him about the vision. Using the Force to levitate 3 rocks to keep the Wookiee's attention on him, Yoda kept asking him questions which slowly eroded Cursish's confidence in his vision's validity, and that his rationalization of still following through with his plan to kill Gear was done out of fear and anger, rather than to serve the Force and to protect others. With Cursish distracted by Yoda, Gear was finally able to free herself from under him. Cutting their survival training short, the trio and the other younglings all returned safely to the temple. Upon his return, Yoda met with Dooku to discuss what had transpired on their trip. During their conversation, Dooku admitted he knew of Cursish's visions already, and that he had underestimated their influence on him. When confronted on why he didn't tell him this earlier, Dooku replied that Cursish came to him in confidence, and that he had provided the guidance he felt most appropriate at the time. Seeing how Sifo-Dyas was treated by the Council over his visions also played a role in why he did not inform them, as he hoped for a kinder path for the youngling. Even though Dooku agreed that doing so may have been the wrong choice, he also argued that if there was indeed any truth in the Wookiee's vision, then perhaps Gear being confronted by this possible fate will be what ultimately saves her from it. Yoda countered that because they didn't know the full context of what the vision showed Cursish, it was dangerous to assume its meaning. Having had this same debate multiple times already, Dooku concluded that they must simply agree to disagree on their views of the Force. Nonetheless, he ultimately made his decision to keep the vision a secret because he genuinely believed it was the best choice for the youngling. Trusting his former apprentice would never knowingly endanger a student, Yoda accepted Dooku's rationalization for choosing to keep the vision a secret. In truth, they were both right from a certain point of view. The original Force vision Cursish experienced involving the Wookiee tribe was not related to his past, but Gear's. The events he witnessed also appeared in reverse. The Trandoshan hunting party initially ambushed several Wookiees, catching them off guard. But they underestimated their full nearby numbers, with the rest of the tribe arriving soon afterwards and eliminating all the attackers, with only an infant left as the sole survivor on the Trandoshan side. When they realized she was Force sensitive, they contacted the Jedi Order, who sent Yoda due to his good relations with the Wookiees. Although saddened by the needless violence that had occurred, Yoda was happy that Gear had survived, certain it was the will of the Force that she was to become a Jedi. However, because Kursish misinterpreted what he was seeing in the past, his anger that rose in the present opened him up to a future vision of Gear striking him, unaware that it was in defense to his attacks. A warning from the Force the path his anger would lead him on. While Yoda was correct in this respect of not assuming they understood what the vision was truly showing Kursish, Dooku was also correct in believing her being warned of her potential darkness saved her from a terrible fate. As a result of the events that took place, Gear decided that it was her duty to leave the Jedi Order, not only to ensure that she would not risk the chance of falling to the dark side as she believed her friend's vision showed, but also to protect Kursish from doing the same, by removing the temptation of his own darkness that her presence brought to him at the temple, ultimately saving her from being a future victim of Order 66. At the end, Yoda learned an important lesson as well, that he too had made a mistake of being certain of the future. Due to his belief that it was the will of the Force that she was to become a Jedi, he never considered a different path for her, and because of that, he felt he failed her. The fates of either Kursish or Gear afterwards are currently unknown.